Welcome. This is the show called Get Hired, and your online image is what we're going to be talking about today. It has the potential to enhance your brand, increase your presence and authority and influence when used correctly. Don't go away. We will be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome to Get Hired with Aletta and Teresa. I'm your host, Bridgetti Lim Banda from Cape Town in South Africa, and our live stream is made possible by StreamYard and Be Live Media. So, a special warm welcome to our audience, whether you are joining us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, or over on Amazon Live. Just do know that we are monitoring the comments in real time. So, we are definitely able to give you a shout out, even if this is your very first time watching the show. If you've got questions or comments about our stream today, please feel free to make those in the comments. So today we're going to be talking about how you can create a more professional image for your online interviews so that you can get the job or promotion that you desire. So one of the things that we do to help you level up on your online appearance is to make just a few recommendations that I personally have for you. And that is to use the Logitech Brio camera, which I use. It's a 4K camera with trademarked bright light and HDR technology, so you can level up. It means you don't have to worry too much about your lighting, because not all of us are great at knowing exactly how to position lighting. But Teresa um, and Aletta has got some great advice. So do watch out for the advice on lighting in the show today. And as far as a camera is as far as a microphone is concerned, my personal recommendation is something like the Samsung um, microphone. It's got a die-cast body, which means that it helps you with the sound. It's a condenser microphone, but not everybody has got a condenser microphone, or not everybody wants a big microphone. So my other recommendation, and again, do watch out later for what Teresa and Aletta is going to be recommending. But my recommendation is something like the Rode lavalier microphone, with much smaller, easier um, to carry around and manage wherever you are. But it does give you much, much better sound than you would get on your phone, or even on your laptop, which is what most people will be using for their interviews. A quick tip, again, I know Teresa and Alette is going to touch on this in the show. Um, oftentimes people will try and hold their phone in their hand while they um, are doing an interview, you don't want to do something like that. What I recommend is something like that you can put onto your tripod to stabilize. So use some form of stabilizer. You don't want to make people feel seasick while you're having something as important as an interview. So use a stabilizer of some sort if you are using your phone, because you can use your phone. They've got great cameras, but you need to stabilize them. So my amazing co-hosts on the show are Aletta and Teresa. And if you've not met them before, Aletta is the founder of Voicing Your Potential, and she's passionate about helping you speak like a professional so you can get noticed, remembered, and hired. She's trained and spoken in 22 countries and teaches job seekers how to use her proven system to prepare for interviews and land their dream job. Teresa, on the other, is a certified world-class speaking coach, trainer, and speaker who helps people be heard, understood, and remembered. Teresa has trained more than 30,000 people in effective communication skills, and she's the co-founder of Interview Survivor Skills. So let's get on with the show, shall we? And let me get my co-hosts to join me here so we can dive into the material. Teresa and Aletta, welcome. So nice to have you join me on screen, and can't wait to get dived into the material for today because it's so super, super important. I know of so many people who's lost a job interview opportunity because they were not camera ready. So I'm very excited for our show today.
So are we. I thought I'd jump right on in there and say thank you so much for having us, Bridgetti.
It's an absolute, absolute big, 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 big pleasure. And let me just remove that that timer off the screen because we don't need that. There we go. All good, all good. So shall we start with getting up the material for today and just dive right in?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I love that. I love that first slide there because it just sort of is a nice way of introducing virtually, even if it's virtual introduction, you still want to have that kind of handshake or make that connection with the person that's going to be interviewing you. So I like that you actually put that on the first slide. So let's dive into the material, shall we? Today's topic is how to guarantee a more professional image in online interviews. So shall we talk a bit about why it matters?
Thanks, Bridgetti. I think for me, an interview is such an opportunity And as most of us know, it's not always easy to get an interview. Sometimes you submit multiple job applications before you are lucky enough to be invited to interview. And then you've got all these hopes and dreams all wrapped up in however long that interview may be. Let's say it's 45 minutes. And that's the only time you've got to really sell yourself as the ideal candidate for the job. It's your only time to engage fully with the recruiters in this little online rectangle. And it's important that you get it right when it matters most. It is a nerve-wracking experience for most of us. And depending on how you prepare for the interview will to a large extent determine the success of the interview. And there's so much of the interview process that you cannot control. There's so much that is completely out of your control, how many people the company want to hire, what their sense of urgency is, who else is on the applicant list. But what you can control is how you appear on screen and how you prepare for the interview. Teresa, would you like to add to that?
No, I totally agree with exactly what you said, because we only get one chance to make that really good first impression. And if you show up and you are not completely prepared to be professional on screen, or you don't have yourself set up correctly, it really does put you in a bad light from the very beginning. So what Aletta and I want to share with you today has a lot to do with getting you as prepared as possible before you click that button that says, I'm entering this interview. So we have got a lot of information we want to share with you. So I think we can jump right on straight into it, Aletta.
Can I ask you, ladies, something? They say that, the first few minutes you sort of create an impression sort of right off the bat. Do you think that sometimes an interviewer can sort of tune out because you failed to make a good first impression?
Interviewers are humans and they react just like you and I react. And as we all know, sometimes people start a conversation with us and we're not engaged fully. Something about the way they say or what they say kind of turns us off and we tune out. So interviewers have that same challenge as well. And in the online space, as Teresa was saying, you've got to be fully ready. When you click that button, you've got to be ready and engaged. That doesn't mean that you're sitting back and kind of thinking about, am I ready? You are here, you're engaged. You look like you want to be there. And those are just some of the little things that you can control and that can influence your image online. And remember, it's not just for interviews. So many of our meetings are online. And one of my pet hobbies is to watch local news or international news. And I'm often shocked at how the people being interviewed are not camera ready, because they haven't taken the time to consider how they appear online, what they look like, what they sound like. And they could do with some of the tips that we're going to be sharing with you today. Teresa?
And can I just add that, even when you are a presenter or a speaker, and also when you are in an interview, you have got between 7 and 30 seconds to make that impression. So it's really vital that you understand what you can do in those first 30 seconds to engage with those interviewers. It may be that not everybody is online yet. So have something in your little back pocket, a little bit of information about the company, so that if you're waiting on people to come online, then you have a chance to bring about a little bit of small talk. And because we're not face to face, a lot of people forget you still can have small talk when you're across the screen with people. So have a little tidbit in your back pocket on something about that company that you know, that you've read about in the newspaper, or that you've researched, because then it kind of helps pass the time until everybody is ready to get that interview started.
Aletta, I wanted to just comment on that great way that you illustrated the importance of being your online presence. Because when you sat back in your chair, it just made such a difference as to when you sort of, you step into the space and, you show somebody that you're ready to engage with them. It makes a huge, huge, huge difference. So body language even applies online, but you also don't want to do that. And I think that's one of the things you cover in on the slides.
The way I've interpret it is when you lean back and you're too far back on your screen, you take up less real estate. That's the only real estate you've got, is this little rectangle that you are visible on. And if you shrink on that, you diminish your authority. And you often see people with, only from the chin up, and it just looks ridiculous. You've got to be engaged as fully as you can. And that means sitting up straight, leaning forward. And we'll have a couple of the other things in the presentation. But yeah, let's go to the presentation and we'll cover some of those essentials.
So what does it mean to shine a light on your face?
Teresa?
Okay, so the very first thing that we want to talk about when it comes to getting camera ready is that we want you to make sure that whatever light source you have, it is actually behind the device and shining on your face. This is the important part about getting your lighting correct, because a lot of people think, well, I'm going to have the window in the background because it's putting light onto my computer. But when you put light on from behind you, you get too much shadowing coming on your face. Your face goes into darkness, and all we can see is the light behind your head. You're in like a little silhouette. So it's really important that the lighting that you choose, whether it's a natural light that is a window that you put your computer in front of so that light is shining on your face, or whether you use a desk lamp that you focus specifically on your face so that your face is lit up. The last thing that you want to happen is for that interviewer not to be able to see your eyes. They want to have this conversation with you, and the only way they can do that is eye-to-eye contact, okay? So make sure that they can see your eyes and that they can see your face. And when we look at these best practices here, the key with that lighting isn't only making sure it's shining on your face, but it's also making sure that whatever that interview is able to see, that they're not looking at your ceiling. We don't want your laptop or your tablet or your mobile phone to be focusing up. We want to have it at eye level so that the interviewer can see your face, see your eyes, and talk to you, and not to your ceiling or not to your chest. And when we look at the examples here, you can see exactly what happens when you put yourself with the window behind you instead of in front of you. I think the main one on this example that has it right is probably the young lady right in the middle, at the second arrow, at the bottom arrow. Beautiful lady of color, absolutely light shining on her face. And I know that we're going to see her eyes when we interview her. So we don't want any ceilings. We don't want any heads cut off where, you're looking down or the computer is in the wrong place. And we definitely don't want to look up your nostrils. We don't want to know that you need a trim or whatever. Get your lighting right. And that may be that you just need to invest in some kind of professional lighting if you want to, but you do not have to. It's just making sure that you think about the time when your interview is. If it's going to be in the morning, then you need to practice the day before to make sure that that lighting is going to be the same when the interview happens on the real day. So whatever time it is that interview is, make sure you practice the day before so that you understand the lighting is going to be different. The morning it might be bright, but in the evening you're not going to have any natural light. So you've got to make accommodations for your lighting.
Wow, that's such good advice. I think that's something people don't talk about very often. So if your interview's in the morning or in the afternoon, make sure you prepare around the same time so that you're going to have very similar lighting conditions. That's a great tip right there, But also, I found the most common mistake people make is that ceiling look. I don't know why people don't get it right, but you often see you're looking at the ceiling, and it gives such a distorted view of the person that you feel almost disorientated when you're looking at somebody and the background is not 100% straight.
And the easiest ways, to correct that is to put your laptop or your device on a box or a stack of books so that the camera is at eye level. Then you don't need to open it up further so that you can appear on screen. Just get it up to 90 degrees and inevitably that'll be the right angle. Teresa, you were going to add something?
I think that was what I was going to say. It's just making sure you've got your camera right at that eye level, because then you will be looking at it, and you will know, because you will see yourself on screen, and it doesn't take any time for you to just take those extra minutes or two before you log on to look at what your little square is going to be showing, and make sure that you've got your laptop set up properly, so there is no ceiling. You only have just a teeny bit of space above here, and use your real estate to your advantage. I love that we call this little square our real estate. That is what we are operating in, and if you get it right, then it makes you appear and actually come across in a more professional manner.
One of the things I do, sorry, Bridgetti, one of the things I do before I go into an important meeting is I actually activate Zoom, and it's just me in my own little meeting, and I check out what I look like. And once I'm happy, I end that meeting and then I go into the other meeting. So that's an easy way for you to just check it out before it's the big moment and everybody else is there with you.
That's such excellent advice. I was going to say something similar, Aletta. It's all in the preparation, you know. And just yesterday, I was joining a very sort of important Zoom meeting as well. And you have people starting with, "Can you hear me? Can you see me?" And I'm thinking you've lost the impact of your amazing presentation when you start off like that, when you could have just taken a few moments before that to do that prep work.
Yeah. One of the extra things that I love talking about when it comes to lighting, and I experienced this at the beginning of lockdown. I don't know if any of you have decided, hey, I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to bring in a ring light. They are the most fabulous things. So if you get stuck and you think, I want a little extra light on me, I'm going to go and buy one of those ring lights. Don't worry about paying loads and loads of money for them, because you can get any size or style that you like at a really reasonable price. It is absolutely worth the investment to have that extra little bit of light on your face. I just turned my light off, as you can see. So you'll notice that my face went a little bit dark. And then as soon as I turn it back on, see, my face lights up again. And then you get to see all of the wrinkles and extra little foibles that are on my face. But the important bit here is that if you want to invest, choose something wisely. Ring lights are very, 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 I don't know, they're very popular at the moment, but because of their popularity, that means that they're coming down in price. So take a little bit of money, invest in yourself so that you can present yourself as your best on that screen when you stand up in front of that interviewer. It's kind of like you're in the spotlight now. Yeah.
One of the things that people always ask us is, how do you become more engaging online? Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to be set up, and it's another thing to engage with the people, but lighting is critical to that. If your lighting is poor and if you're sitting back on the screen, it's not as easy to engage. So lighting is something you can absolutely control. And as Teresa said, the ring lights are not that expensive, but that is a key element of creating that engagement, is being well lit and then appearing to want to be there, to be enthusiastic, to be friendly, to be engaging just as you would be in person, except it's on a screen.
Absolutely. And if I can add another quick tip here with the ring light, is if you are wearing glasses, if you're wearing spectacles, you don't want to find yourself looking like an alien with rings around your eyes because of the reflection in your glasses. And what you can simply do there is just position your ring light just above your glasses. Just raise it a little bit, and it's going to make a huge difference. So you're still going to have the additional light, but you're not going to get that alien look that you'll get if the ring lights are positioned directly in your glasses.
And I just want to add to that as well, Bridgetti. I mean, that's a fabulous tip. And we do have a lot of people that go, oh my God, I just don't know what to do with this ring light. It's brilliant, but I have these little sparkles in my eyes. And some people will raise the light way, way up. They'll take it way above the laptop so that it's shining down on them. And then they can see with their glasses on properly that the rings aren't in their eyes anymore. The only way it would be in their eyes is if they lifted their head way up, and you shouldn't be lifting your head up anyway. You should be looking straight at that light. So even having it a little bit higher, you don't have to worry too much about having to tilt your glasses, because some people say, hey, tilt your glasses. So they're just up a little bit. They're up here instead of over your ears. And that kind of takes that glare away. But if you are on for an hour, the glasses are going to fall back down again. So lift it up high. Yeah.
This slide is all about.
I love this slide. I just love this slide.
Yeah, this is just all about, it's lights, camera, action, but angles are so important. Using a laptop as a laptop, and it's on her lap, and the screen is open quite wide so she can see what's on the screen, which is perfect when you're just working on a laptop. But as we mentioned before, just imagine where her camera is at the top of that screen and where her eyes are. There's a huge distance, and you've got to raise that camera up so raise the laptop up so that the camera is in line with your eyes. And then immediately you won't have ceilings, you won't have those odd angles that we were speaking about. And the same is true when you're using a phone. Many people use mobile phones for meetings. And when you're just holding it, it's very hard to keep it stable. As Bridgetti was saying earlier on, get a stand or prop it up against something that can keep it stable. And we also recommend that you use it in landscape mode rather than portrait mode. And the chief reason for that is when you are in landscape mode, your image is bigger on screen. So you're using more of the real estate of this even smaller screen during your interview. But again, make sure that it's at eye level and that you are filling up as much of that space as you can. Teresa, anything to add there?
Well, I think, again, this is a chance for people to decide, hey, I want to invest a little bit of money and I want to buy a proper stand. So I am now hands-free and my phone is where it needs to be. So even like a little gooseneck, a weighted stand that has like a little gooseneck and it allows that phone to be put right in front of your face. That I bought one a little while ago, and I think it cost me about 12 pounds or, $20, whatever, your rate of conversion is. But the point here is that if you want to come across professionally, then your setup has to have a few little tricks in your toolkit. And a ring light and a gooseneck stand for your mobile phone are two very inexpensive additions to your toolkit that you can go and buy now. Put that little bit of money aside and purchase something to help you come on screen as the professional you want to be seen as.
And the great thing about all these little things is simply knowing the techniques, which is what we're sharing in the show. They're not expensive solutions to really make you look professional. I came across a guy the other day who showed me images. He was using his ironing board, literally. He had his ironing board and then he had a crate on top of the ironing board and his laptop on there, which meant that he could stand for his interview. And, your body language just changes when you're standing as opposed to when you are sitting. You somehow carry more authority when you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
And you want client to use your hands and be a bit more expressive. So it's not expensive solutions, you can take just about anything. And then when someone else posted, he took a laundry, a washing line, a laundry line, and put a plank on top of that and another box on top of that, and that was his rostrum, So they're all cheap solutions. You don't have to go and buy huge stuff out there. It's not a big investment.
It's called use what you've got. And, for me, I actually use a music stand. I have my laptop put onto a music stand and I can raise it or lower it, sit down or stand up with it. So it's use what you got. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite slides because one, I like Christopher Reeves, and this is his son, actually, Superman's son. But when you go online, whether you are in person or online, you absolutely need to be fully dressed. So a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to be behind the screen. They'll never know. They'll never know that I don't have anything on underneath. But you can guarantee something will go wrong. There will be something you need to pick up behind you. You're going to stand up, and then everybody will see you in all of your glory. So the reason we say be fully dressed, it isn't just for the modesty side of it. It's actually for the mindset. If you are going in person to that job interview, you absolutely would have trousers on, proper attire if you were there in person. So you have to treat that online interview the exact same way as if you have gotten up, gotten dressed, shoes and all, walked out the door, driven to the place, and walked through their reception saying, "Hi, my name is," yeah? So be fully dressed so that you are in the right mindset and you are ready to, hit the floor running for that interview. Aletta.
I'd also like to add that we live in a pandemic era, and I get horrified when I see people interviewed on national and international TV, and they have a mask hanging from an ear or draped under their chin. The mask is either on or it's off. And if you don't need it, it doesn't need to be visible. So please just create that awareness that the only thing people see is the absolute professional image. And if there's no point to wearing a mask, especially if you're in an online interview, get rid of it. It doesn't need to be visible.
And the thing about what's going on now, in the UK anyway, they are taking away the restrictions. So masks are no longer a mandatory thing. So I think we will start to see that disappear, and that's a good thing. But it all comes down to where you are. But yeah, absolutely no mask if at all possible. Do we want to talk about backgrounds? And we got that as a slide. Oh, we do. And ask and you shall receive, right? This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves because I despise virtual backgrounds. For me, I think I would much prefer you in a real live setting that is professional looking. It's not cluttered. It doesn't make you ghost in and out. I mean, Aletta talks about this a lot. This Golden Gate Bridge is brilliant if you're on a casual conversation with a friend or whatever. But when you're going for an interview, you absolutely need to be as professional as possible. So avoid those backgrounds as much as possible. Try and set up your room or your space or your local office, wherever you're going to be, in a very professional way. Make sure that the backdrop, looks good. It's not too messy. Whatever's going on behind your screen, it can be, a hurricane or whatever may have hit you. But as long as we can't see that, then what we can see looks really, really good. The only other thing that I would say about backgrounds is if you have to get rid of what's behind you, you're not happy with your backdrop and you don't have any other option, the blurred effect is one of the better options. And I think that would be like my second go-to, because then at least you are still coming across and we can see you more effectively, but still be aware that if you don't have a lot of light on you, even the blurred effect may allow a little bit of ghosting to go on. Aletta.
I think with backgrounds, you've got to ask yourself, why are you putting that background up? The ones that I think are definitely of no use during an interview are the rolling videos of the waves in the Bahamas and the wind blowing the palm trees. That's not applicable. But your background says something about the image you're trying to project. In an interview, you want to have a neat professional background behind you. You don't need something elaborate. You don't need a landscape scene. You just want to be seen as a person who's coming to work and as the person to do the job and the ideal candidate. So unless the background is something that you need to say about you, and I can't think of many industries where that would be applicable, our advice is certainly keep them as plain as possible, blurred or the real thing, or something that's fairly neutral. You don't need to make a big statement with your background. Rather make a statement with the words that you say as you bring your CV to life, rather than relying on a so-called personality that's brought to life by a virtual background.
Very, very valid points there with backgrounds. And that's a pet hate of mine too. And I use virtual backgrounds, but I have a green screen and I have the knowledge to know how to do the lighting properly so you don't get ghosting. You know, and even if I had a green screen, I would not be using the kind of background that this lady is using in this example, because it just does not convey what I would like to convey about myself. I would be using a green screen with a studio, depending on which show I'm producing, or I would use an office scene, but I would not be using something similar to what this lady is using here, even if I had a green screen. So great advice there on having a good background. And if you absolutely must, you know, just find a blank wall in your apartment. If you know, if nothing else works, just find a blank space or a corner that's got, you know, nothing behind it, so that the focus is on you and people are not focused. Because I find with things like that, it's so distracting because people are paying more attention to the ghosting and the background, and the focus is not on you as the interviewee. So that should be the target, is attention on you, not on your background.
I often find myself trying to work out whether the background is real or virtual. So I'm often looking at people, trying to see if there's any ghosting, because I'm intrigued. Is that really how beautiful their home is, or is that a virtual background? So that's just my kind of habit I have. But nothing should detract from you as the candidate. You are center stage. You are the one in the spotlight, literally, and nothing should detract from that professional image.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how do we guarantee a more professional image in online interviews?
Well, you know, what we have given you so far, you have some hints and tips to take away from the information that we've shared with you today. But also, we wanted to thank you for being with us today and allowing us to come on and to hear what we have to say. And so we've offered you I think it's the 10 top habits for a successful for the successful interviewee, I guess you could say. 10 habits that successful people have put into practice. And it's a great piece of information that you can download once we put the slide back up again. And it will allow you to get yourself ready. Today is all about being as prepared as possible before you click that button. How can I make sure my background is right? How can I make sure my lighting is right? Have I got my angle correct as far as my computer and my laptop or my tablet or my phone is concerned? Having all of the boxes ticked before you click that button. And that particular resource that we're offering to you as a free download will give you a kickstart to some of the things that you need to do to be as professional as possible. Aletta.
I agree. You know, everything we've spoken about today, as we've said, are very simple things, and they things that are within your control. Absolutely. It's building that awareness. And I invite you to take time to start a Zoom meeting on your laptop or your phone and analyze your image and just see, are you setting yourself up for success? And if not, just tweak it and experiment in different parts of your home with different colored background walls or whatever, different lighting, and just create the awareness. Once you've got the awareness and you can see these things, you will be astounded as to how many people don't see it. And if there are 5 people going for an interview and, you know, 3 of them kind of sit back in their chair and they have the camera angle all weird, you are going to be the one who stands out because you understand what it takes to appear professional in an online interview. It's not rocket science, but if you don't know it, you can't take advantage of it. So download our free resource because that'll help you as well. But it's all within your control. And what we are passionate about is empowering you to take the maximum advantage of that interview that you're lucky enough to get. We want to see you get hired.
And just one extra little thing here, we are so shy, many of us, to watch ourselves on camera. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. So start putting that, like Aletta said, start putting that Zoom on, start recording yourself answering a few questions or whatever, so that you know, am I looking in the right place? Am I right in the screen? Is my background okay? Then and only then will you get more and more used to being that person on that screen in front of that camera, and you will become less and less shy every time you go online.
It's absolutely true that practice makes perfect, and I know that to some people it may seem uncomfortable to look into the camera, but think of it this way: when you're talking to somebody and they're not looking you in the eye, it gives people the sense that you are disinterested or that you've tuned out from being engaged or you're not engaged with them. So it's a mindset shift, and something that I often teach people to do when it comes to looking into the camera, because when you're looking into the eye of the camera, it means that you are then making eye contact with the person that's on screen with you. And if you have a hard time remembering where you need to look, what you can do is take a piece of paper and mark it with an arrow or something and just sticky tape it to your camera to remind you that you need to look into the camera, or put a picture of your dog, your cat, your favorite child, anything. Stick that onto your camera, as a way to train your eye to look into the camera so that you're making eye contact with the person on the other side of the screen. Anything, so it's little changes that you can make that will make a huge difference to you getting that job, because you've taken the time. And I think I like the phrase that you used, Aletta. You said setting yourself up for success, but it's all about preparation.
It is. And the one other thing you can do on Zoom is you can hide your own image. And that is because it's inevitable. If you see yourself on screen, you're drawn to your own image. But if your image is further down on the screen, inevitably you look down and your whole eye contact, your eyes get smaller, it's less engaging. So hide your self view on Zoom. And once you're sure that you've set it up correctly, hide that self view, then you can focus on the other people in the interview and not be so drawn to looking at yourself and taking your eye off the camera.
That was lovely. That was lovely because you were talking and I was on screen. So I was like, okay, this is good. But you're exactly right. We are drawn to our own image. We like looking at ourselves. It's like being in front of the mirror, right? Oh, is the hair right? Is the makeup right? All that good stuff. But it's you have permission to play. And I think that's probably one of the biggest tips that I like to pass on to people. Have a play before you have to do it for real. And then everything is so much easier.
And that reminds me, Teresa, depending on which platform you are being interviewed on, go and play on that platform. It might be a Teams platform, it might be Zoom, it might be Google Meet. Go and try them out ahead of your interview so you are 100% comfortable with how that interface works, where the buttons are, where the mute button is, the video button, and so that there are no surprises when it matters most.
Yeah. I think that's
a great point to make, because if you're familiar with the platform, it makes such a big difference. You don't want to try and figure out the platform as you go online. It's too late then, because you're going to be fumbling around and you're going to be distracted. And people will notice that you'd be, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but you can almost, when you sit and watch something online, you can tell when the person's distracted, like when they're watching their phone, and they think that you can't see it, but I'm looking at my phone right now, so you can see that I'm distracted, right? um, or something on the floor. I'm turning. You'd be amazed of those little nuances that your interviewer will pick up, and you don't want to come across looking distracted, or goodness me, even having your interviewer think you're disinterested, that you don't really want this job. So it's so
Such a
super
good
important to be engaged.
Such a good point, Bridgetti. It's an absolutely brilliant point. And we've had clients who have said, well, but when they ask me a question, then I start to think, and I need to, kind of pull the story. Do I have to always be looking in the camera when I'm thinking? And the thing to remember is that they know that you may be given a question that you aren't prepared for, and you have to take a minute to think about it. And that's absolutely okay, maybe to glance down or over to the side until that thought comes to you. But as soon as your answer, dings into your head, then you start talking to that camera again. But it's all about being as natural as you can be. And once you get used to that camera being their eyes, then you can, focus a little bit over here and come back to their eyes again. It's just be natural, I think, is the point.
Teresa, I love that point. I really love that point. Because even when you're having an in-person conversation with somebody, you don't want to stare into their eyes to the point where it makes them feel, ooh, this person's staring me down, or make them feel uncomfortable. So you don't want to do that either. You want to make eye contact, but as it is in person, it's perfectly okay to glance around, or move your eyes, and not sort of like stare the person down or make them feel like, is there something wrong? Is there something in my eye? Why is the person staring at me? You don't want to do that either. So such an important point, that is just to be natural, allow for normal eye movement and expressiveness in the way that you come across. We've got to wrap up. Any final words for our audience, ladies?
I would say download, absolutely. Play. Do not be afraid to play, and practice. It's this practice to get prepared. That will be my 3 tips. Yeah.
And from my side, I would just say, take every opportunity to appear really engaging online. And that starts with being aware of how you look, controlling your lighting, controlling your sound. And as we've all said, it's not rocket science. It's well within your control, and it can make such a difference. So create the awareness, practice, play, and set yourself up for success. We really hope that your next interview is a resounding success because of the preparation that you've done.
With that, thanks very, very much, everyone who's joined us live. A big shout out to Cookbook Divas over on Amazon Live for joining us. Everyone who's watched us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, thank you for joining us. And also, if you're catching the show on the replay, also welcome to the replay. Take care, everyone. We'll see you back on the next episode of Get Hired. Stay well, stay safe. Until next time.